Driver of the number 12 Menards Ford Mustang, Ryan Blaney, looking all comfortable, ready to go. Another race week here. And if you've got a question for Ryan, raise your hand. If you want to send me a chat, if the hand raiser isn't working for you, let me know and we'll ask Ryan any questions that you've got. Ryan, I know a big week for you. Tomorrow night, you guys are getting ready to announce. My Facebook feed has been sprinkled with people trying to get votes for the My Track Challenge contest. Just kind of where are things stand and how has this been for you throughout this process?
Yeah, it's it's just really been nice that Advance is wanting to do something like this, and them being a fairly new partner of ours, they've been amazing to work with for a company that is so into short track racing as much as they are. Just honored to be a part of it. That Advance My Track Challenge has been a lot of fun, to have so many short tracks around the United States and Canada have a chance to win, $50,000 to improve their track, whether it's, the fan experience, they got to work on their facility a little bit. It's all for a good cause. So we have the 6 finalists and we're going to be announcing the winner here very shortly. But there's a lot of great tracks there. I've raced at a lot of the tracks that are on there and some tracks I've never heard of. So we had a track from Alaska that was in the top 6 that looks to be amazing. And the background was pretty cool too. So just neat that Advanced Auto Parts is willing to do that stuff. And it's even better for me because, everybody comes from that world. Everyone comes from the short track world. We had, we had a lot of advanced people at Darlington, thankfully. And a lot of people in the garage, he was telling me, came up to him and said, "Thank you for doing this." And I told him, I said, everyone in this garage has come from short tracks. That's what it is. So I know everyone is very excited for it, and I am too. And hopefully this continues for years to come.
All right, very good. Well, I see we've got the proper signage behind you with Miles the Monster going to Dover this weekend. So I'm sure we're probably going to have some questions here about that. But let's get started here with Claire B. Lang. Claire, if you'd like to get us started, go ahead with Ryan.
I think I could relate. All right, gotcha. Hey, how are you? All right, let's talk about Dover, a really tough track. I'm correct in saying you have not won at Dover in Cup, right? And what makes it a tough track and how do you look at it?
Yeah, it's a tough racetrack. Kind of we run into it at Bristol with the concrete tracks of it's building up rubber. Obviously everyone sees it. As we get running on there, the track gets really black, and that's just all the rubber getting put down on it and makes it your car change a lot from a restart to even 10, 15 laps on it. So, and then we pick all that rubber up under caution, and then you kind of do it again. So it's really important to try to keep in mind what you think the track's going to do. As you get laps on it, and as the track changes, your car is going to change. So I feel like the people and the teams and drivers who can stay ahead of that are really good. And I thought we had a couple of decent runs there last year. The place that I don't think we've been in contention for a win, but I feel like this year we've learned a lot of stuff to where we can go back and see what we got. So I'm looking forward to this weekend trying to get another Miles from that was Xfinity one. So hopefully we can get a Cup one here.
And real quick, can you address the high banks of Dover that when fans watch it, who will never get a chance to go around them, what passing or driving is like on the high banks of Dover and or sucking you in when things go wrong?
Yeah, it's, I feel like it's a feeling that you can't really describe well. We try to describe it to people as like, kind of dropping off a cliff, getting in the corners and then climbing that same cliff on exit. I feel like you drop a couple stories. And it's hard to, everyone's like, "Oh, well, cool." I'm like, well, you can't feel that, unless you're actually out there in a car or something and going as fast as we are. So the sensation of dropping into each corner is pretty amazing. No other racetracks like that. And the amount of G-force and load that you have on your car and your body in the middle of the corner is unlike anywhere else. So it's definitely a roller coaster of a racetrack, and things can go wrong very fast there. So you just try to stay out of trouble. But yeah, that's something we work on a lot, is how your car drops into the corner, because it's easy to drop in too hard and your car is all over the racetrack. But then you have to deal with, crawling out, your car lifts up and you kind of can get all out of shape. So it's a very fine line, and there's some teams who've really perfected that.
Great description. You did it well. Thank you so much. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. Good to see you. Let's go to Dustin Long. Go ahead, Dustin.
Thank you. Ryan, had a couple things. Next week's COTA, and certainly that's a new track where guys don't have experience. I'm curious from a driver's point of view, with a track with so many turns, so long, how do you learn that track to where you can, once you get on the track in practice, that you can start to, hammer down in each of the corners? What is that process for a driver track to with all those corners, that length? Obviously you'll have to go back through that again at Road America, although I know you're familiar with that, but that just seems like obviously you'll get it down pretty quickly, but just what's the learning process in that?
Yeah, with the very limited practice we have there, we have a simulator date planned, the week before COTA next week. So that'll be good. We've already run it on the simulator before, kind of earlier in the year, just to get an idea. And, I think that's just the best tool you can use nowadays. We only have very short practice at COTA. It's nice to get a practice to kind of figure it out. But yeah, the sim stuff is really big. We use the heck out of that Ford sim and Concord, and, just try to get an idea on visual stuff, some braking things. So I think that's going to be really helpful for us. We'll spend, 4 hours in there next week, just trying to figure out not only the car setup side, but my side too, because there's a lot of different corners around there, from what I can see, and I've heard tons of elevation, a lot of tight corners that'll be really slow in our cars. So you'll have to be able to brake well and then accelerate well out of those corners onto long straightaways. So the Ford sim, that's really all we got, but it's nice to have a practice. So you really have to utilize that. But how short the practice is going to be, you're only going to get a few runs. By the time you get out of the pits, go all the way around, take the green to make a couple laps, and come all the way back to the pits, you don't get a lot of runs. So you're gonna have to be on top of your game and make sure the car is ready. Which we're really good at that now, right? We don't practice now, so it has to be ready for the race. But it'll be very, very vital to be on top of your game, and the Ford sim will definitely help that out.
Do you have that track memorized at this point? Each of the corners, if I threw out a random corner, you could tell me about it?
I know the racetrack. If you threw out the numbers, I don't know, like turn whatever. I don't know if I could really point that out. I know turn one's a very sharp left-hander. Then you have some S's, and then you have, after the S's, there's a left-hander, a right-hander that goes uphill, left-hander that goes uphill, and then you go down to, I think, turn 6, I believe it is, that sharp left-hander that leads all the way on the backstretch. So I know all the corners. I don't know the numbers, but I usually put one on my steering wheel, a little printout, to where I can point out each number of the corner. And all the road courses, they always have unique names for each corner, and I think that's just too much. So I just stick with numbers and figure those out. But I know the racetrack.
Also, one other thing is, starting with COTA, 5 of the next 11 points races will be on road courses this summer. Does that, obviously the series has not seen that many in such a small period of time. Is it, we've got the first third of the season right now we've completed. What is this next period going to be like of 11 race stretch, starting at COTA with 5 on the road course? Will you be able to get out?
I think you're breaking up a little bit, but no, we haven't seen this many road courses, ever on the Cup side. And I think it's good, just going into some new places, like COTA, Road America, bringing the Cup cars there. That's a great racetrack up in Wisconsin. I've been there a couple times, to run Xfinity car, Indy road course. And Sonoma, obviously we know Sonoma. So yeah, there's a few new ones on the schedule that I think it's just great. It's good to try new things, bring the Cup Series to new areas of the country that maybe people around there haven't seen necessarily a Cup race or a NASCAR race in general, like COTA. That's new for NASCAR in general down in Austin. So I think it's good. I like how NASCAR is expanding to different types of areas and racetracks. And but yeah, you're gonna have to step up your road course program. We don't just have 2, like it used to be a few years ago. You got a pretty good amount now, so you have to really put a huge emphasis, an even bigger emphasis on the road courses.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you, Dustin. Let's go to Lee Spencer. Lee, you're up.
Thank you, and thanks for joining us, Ryan. Can you talk a little bit about testing the new car?
Yeah. I ran it at Texas last week for a couple days, and it was definitely different. Just kind of, and personally, with RCR kind of running that deal, we don't have a car in our shop yet. So that car was in our shop to kind of get my seat in it, and I sat in it, kind of got fitted. That was the first time I ever saw it.
Wow.
So I was really interested in kind of looking at it, learning about it. I learned a lot about it at the test of kind of how you work on it. We were able to bring some of our guys out there to really kind of get their hands dirty on how do you go about this change? How do you go about this change? It's just different than what we got now and what they've been working on for years and years, right? So it's going to take, I think, everyone a little bit of time to efficiently work on these cars, as fast as they can. But driving it, I thought it was pretty good, and can definitely feel the differences on, it has a lot less side force than what we have now. And you can feel that kind of when it steps out, you can't get it. There is just a certain kind of degree of yaw that, or kind of slip angle that you're like, oh, this would be really comfortable in the car we got now, but this one, it's a little bit less comfortable. So, but it was just good to drive it, feel it, try new things on it, what changes worked, what didn't, what I could feel, what couldn't I feel. I'll be really curious just to get around other cars. I think that's the biggest thing, is the car is going to drive the way it does, by itself. It is what it is, but how it drives and is affected with other cars with dirty air all around it, that's the biggest thing, right? We don't really complain about the way the car drives by themselves, no matter what package it is. It's always dirty air, right? That's what everyone talks about always. So that'll be the big thing. If we can finally get a handful of cars out there and really feel that out. I'm sure we will, here soon when everyone starts getting their cars and building them. But I thought it was good. Just nice to kind of get behind the wheel of it and feel it firsthand for a couple of days.
How do you think the dynamic of racing will change when you take a car like that you can beat the crap out of at Darlington? Because I think you mentioned in your post race, I think it was you, but the car was too beat up for, to really be as competitive as we wanted to be. This new car, you're going to be able to knock the crap out of it, right?
I wouldn't necessarily say knock the crap out of it. It's a good performance is going to go down, if you keep beating on it. But I think they'll definitely be more durable than what we got now. I hit the wall a few times at Darlington. The last time I hit it was pretty hard, and it really hurt the car. It was amazing we didn't blow a tire. But I think it's just something to where it has to be, you got to have a little bit of forgiveness. You can't. The cars now, we always talk about, man, you just barely touch the wall and you get a freaking tire rub and you blow a tire, and like, that's no good. Or you barely kind of door somebody on accident and you get a tire rub and blow a tire, ruins your day. So they got to be a little bit more durable, and I think they will be with the way the bodies are on them and what they're made out of. So I think it will help. But no, I mean, you got to be able to maybe rub a wall a little bit, and it doesn't completely kill the performance of your car. You can't knock it down and keep on digging, but I think there's got to be an equal ground. I think this car is going to help that out a little bit, and as far as being a little bit more forgiving on, if you do touch something, you don't immediately blow a tire or you lose 0.3. You're 0.3 slower. So we'll see.
And you also agree that it'll put driving back in the competitors' hands.
I think so. I mean, from what I've heard and learned about it, there's going to be a lot of the same parts and pieces on every car. Coming from the same manufacturer, different areas of the car. So I think it will put a little bit more in the driver's hands. I mean, there's still going to be a good amount of stuff that the teams will still set up on the car that is all the team, and the best teams are going to figure that out. But yeah, as far as making your own pieces and parts, most of that's kind of gone out the window with this thing, which is there's something different, that's for sure. I know we take a lot of pride at Penske on making a lot of our parts unique to what we think is the best. But in this day and age, you try to bring the fields closer together, and that's what their goal is for this.
Thanks again. Have a great week.
Thank you.
All right, Lee, thank you. Let's go to Casey Campbell. Casey, you're up.
Thanks, Dan. Hey, Ryan, how are you?
No.
I'm doing pretty good. So a lot of people were talking about, with the package at Darlington, either they liked it or didn't. And they just saw the TV ratings have gone up. I think the most cable, like the most watched race on cable since I think like 2017. What, as a race fan, what are you looking for in a race car? So basically to say, oh, I like this.
As a fan or as a driver?
As a fan.
I'm a driver. I don't know.
Well,
the fan perspective is something. I'm a fan of racing, but I'm a little skewed on that question because I'm driving. So I think a lot of the times, sometimes I feel like what drivers think is good racing, or what they think is the best product that we put on the racetrack, maybe it's different from what the fans want to see on the racetrack. And that's just me personally. I think a lot of things we agree on as far as fans and drivers of what we think is good racing and stuff. But as far as a fan perspective, I feel like if they see us slipping and sliding and almost wrecking every lap like we did at Darlington with the low downforce stuff, I feel like to me that's awesome to watch and it's a lot of fun to drive. When we are stuck with a lot of grip running wide open around each other, but we're packed up, that looks like good racing, but it can be very frustrating as a driver when you're kind of packed up and you can't break away and you're running wide open. So I might be a little skewed on that, but I just want to see drivers working hard. I think that's the biggest thing is if the fans could see that the drivers are working really hard and we are working super hard in the car and people can appreciate that. Like you saw at Darlington, everyone's working so hard to get around that joint. To me, that is the best product you can put on the track.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
All right, Ryan, we got two more for you here and we'll let you go. Let's go to Jeff Magliacetti. Go ahead, Jeff.
Thanks so much, Ryan. Thank you for joining us today. Happy to be here. Congratulations on your season to date thus far. So Darlington is the last playoff track we'll visit until the postseason actually begins. What are you and the 12 team looking to improve on when we return to Talladega, Darlington, Richmond, etc.?
Yeah, I've been very proud of the improvements we've made at. I'll just point out two racetracks where we haven't been the best at in the past, or I haven't, Richmond and Darlington. I felt like we've really made a big jump this year on our performance. We ran 11th at Richmond. We got stage points there. That's a pretty good day for me. And then running 8th at Darlington, getting stage points in both stages. Kind of running top 10 all day. That's really big. It's two tracks to where I've struggled at in the past a lot. And myself and Todd Gordon and everyone on the group we've put huge emphasis on those two tracks just because they're in the playoffs. I mean, that's the big thing. And they're in the same round, so you have to be able, you can't just go out there and run 15th to 20th all day, and not get stage points. That just kicks your butt. So those are two tracks we really put a huge thought on of, okay, what do we got to do to be better here? And I think we really applied that, and we have really good notes to go back there in the fall to these two racetracks and just run better. So I was very proud of the effort, but you're always wanting to improve and keep improving. So I feel like we took a big step forward at those two tracks for us, and I'm looking forward to hopefully taking another big step forward here come the fall when they're in the playoffs, and it's very, very important.
We're a third of the way through the season right now, a bit of a landmark on our schedule at this point in time. And we've been to some very unique tracks early on. So what can you say about where the 12 team is at right now? What are you looking to improve on the most? Where are you going to focus on the most as we move into closer to the playoffs? And what have you liked? What has the relationship been with Todd, et cetera?
Yeah, I personally have really been proud of the whole 12 group this year. Sitting, I think we're 5th in points right now. Had a shot to win 2-3 races already this year. I look at Martinsville and Kansas was a good shot to win, and maybe one more we had a good chance to win it and just didn't pull it off. And from the start of the year we had, from our first 3 races from pretty much finishing last at Daytona and not having a good road course and getting wrecked at Homestead, the way we've clawed ourselves back into the top 5 in points, I'm really proud of. I think the biggest thing for us is limiting mistakes. That's one of the biggest things. I feel like our cars are pretty fast where they need to be. Obviously you can keep improving on that. But, like Martinsville, a pit mistake took us out of contention for that one. I've made a couple mistakes along the way. So I feel like just putting a bigger emphasis on that and closing out races. We've done a better job at it this year than I feel like we have in the past, but that's something that is really on our list to try to improve. And you sit down and you talk about, hey, where can we improve? What areas do we need to fix and really put our focus on? And you apply that. And I think we did that in the off season, and it's worked so far. You just got to keep on that and keep finding ways to, perfect those things that really matter a lot when you come, playoff time.
Yeah, it's looking good. You guys have only failed to complete 1 lap since the Daytona wreck. So thanks for your time and keep up the good work.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right, let's close this Zoom call out with Ashley McCubbin. Go ahead, Ashley.
Hey, Ryan, thanks for your time today. We're about halfway through the season. What has surprised you the most so far this year?
Surprised me? Nothing really surprised me. I don't know if I'm very surprised at anything. It's just, it's been a pretty decent year so far. I'd say maybe the pleasantly surprising thing about the season is how many fans we were able to have back at the racetrack. That's been pleasantly surprising, and how many tracks have opened up. Atlanta announced, I think last week, that their full capacity opening up when we go back. And I feel like tracks are coming around to that. Like Darlington, we were able to have more family in the infield, and some fans in the stands. So that has been pleasantly surprising to me, just how quickly everything's getting better. It seems like as far as healthy, and everyone's I think things getting safer for people to be around each other and coming to the racetrack again. So that has been nice. For sure. You never know when that day is going to come, thinking last year, like, man, when's the day going to come when we can get people back coming around and it's safe enough everyone's healthy enough to do this and open up stuff. And now it seems like it's finally getting there. So that's been pleasantly surprising to me that it's happened this quickly.
And we've seen.
I'm sorry, Ashley, go ahead.
A diversity of winners so far. What are your thoughts on the competition level and the fact that we've seen big names such as Elliott, Harvick, Hamlin still not reach their ceiling?
I think it just shows the amount of competition, in the Cup Series, especially this year for sure. We've had a bunch of different winners. Was it nine winners? I think we've had already this year, and like you said, 3 of those guys that have, I'd say we're probably the top 3 guys last year haven't won yet, and they're going to win eventually here. So I think it just shows how many teams can go out and do it on any given week. The drivers are really good. Obviously the 19 Truex has been really fast here lately, and he's kind of separated himself from the field with 3 wins already. But I just think it's good for the sport, when you have more teams winning. I'm selfish and I want to win every single race, but it's good, for the sport to have more people winning. So, but those guys are going to win. So it just makes the competition that much tougher when you have more cars that can compete for wins every week. You don't have just 7-8 guys who can do it. You have 20, probably, potentially 20 people who can go out there and win every single weekend.
Thanks for your time today.
You're welcome.
All right, Ryan, I can't leave Bob Pockris hanging. He just raised his hand, and I don't want to leave Bob hanging. I know he's had another meeting here, so he's been back and forth. So, Bob, go ahead, and we'll let you finish up with Ryan.
Oh, thank you. I just was curious, do you have any sense of what is going to be the most difficult portion of COTA and the best passing zone in COTA?
Yeah, I think the difficult thing is just going there with, we're not going to have much practice. You're not going to have a lot of time to run around the racetrack to kind of, as a driver, get mental notes on, okay, I got to brake here. I got to turn in here, things like that. Those are huge, especially at road courses. You're not going to have a lot of time to kind of perfect that. And I think you're going to be using a lot of the race to continue learning about the racetrack. Passing zones, I feel like into ones, pretty heavy braking. I feel like you can outbrake someone into one. Through the S's, I think you're going to be pretty single file. It's just really tight through there. I believe I think it's 6 or 8. The tight left-hander leading onto that long back straightaway, you're going to have a lot of outbraking zones there. And then into the next left-hander after the long straightaway, you're going to be able to outbrake someone there. So I feel like there's going to be probably 5 or 6 passing zones. I feel like when we get there, a lot of heavy braking zones, a lot of tight corners where there's runs. So yeah, 5 or 6, I'm sure. But yeah, you just try to be prepared as much as you can for it, from the sim to utilizing all the practice and then qualifying. You know, it's nice to be able to qualifying. So yeah, I think it'll be a good racetrack. That's a beautiful facility, I've heard, and looking forward to going down there.
Thank you.
Oh.